So 72 hours after OpenClaw killed my Anthropic setup, this is the rebuild system running right now. 20 plus crons green again, 30 plus skills, and Notion holds it all together. 3 different AI tools doing 3 different jobs, so this can never happen to me again. I do not depend on a single platform for anything anymore, period. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what I rebuilt, what I cut, and the 3 vendor split. That means a single ban cannot kill my business again. And so if your business runs through one AI vendor right now, stick around, because the hard part that almost broke me is the part that you'll need the most. So you know where I was sitting when this happened. I run a one-person content business. It's Chris Builds AI. I have maybe 2,000, 2,300 YouTube subs. I have 250 plus email subs. So these are tiny numbers, but the whole reason I can move fast is the pipeline. Idea to schedule content in about 30 minutes. Newsletter drafts themselves on Friday, and shorts auto post. So that pipeline is the only reason I have hours left over to just ship anything. And every single autonomous piece of it ran through OpenClaw. And if you don't know what OpenClaw is, it's a service that lets you set up scheduled jobs that take Claude using your regular Claude login. So it's not the developer API. The same login you use in your browser, which means your scheduled jobs act like you're sitting at the keyboard. And the output was wild. It just felt like a different model entirely. So better than API in a lot of cases. I had Opus in some jobs, Sonnet in others, all running through that same login. Then the email hit and the login was dead overnight. OpenClaw was disconnected. Every scheduled job failed silently overnight. And I opened my phone Friday morning on the Telegram channel, and it was just a wall of red pings. The whole thing of autonomous agents is gone. That was my actual sentence. My whole channel is done. Like, I'm going to go back to writing every script by hand, spending all my nights doing it, or spending longer time doing it. And then I sat down and started the teardown. So the thing that pulled me out of the panic was one sentence I said to myself: worst case, I'll just do it manually. I had it before. I'll do it with Claude Code. And that was the move. That was the unlock right there. If you take nothing else from this video, just take that. If your stack breaks, your fallback is always you doing the work by hand. The job hasn't disappeared, the autopilot has. So I just sat down at my desk on Friday afternoon and just started rebuilding it. And let me walk you through in order with the real lines. If you do something repeatedly, this is what you would build: a skill. And Claude Code would just do something for you. In this case, generating scripts, generating my newsletter. And so basically I was porting over all my OpenClaw crons that were useful to me, which the majority were content related, and just started creating skills in Claude Code. So I opened my .claude folder and just listed every cron, every cron, every skill, every agent that was just touched by the OAuth flow. With 30 plus skills, 30 plus agents, 20 plus slash commands, most of them were just fine because they ran inside Claude Code itself. The ones that I had to research were the autonomous scheduled jobs, the crons. So I made a list of every cron, tagged it with 1 or 3 labels, keep an OpenClaw with a different model, or just move it to Claude Code. So out of the 20 plus crons, I killed about half of them. So it was just dead weight I'd been carrying for months because OpenClaw made it free to keep running around. So this is the lesson that I resisted for months before it finally clicked. I split the work 3 ways: research, content, and grunt. First thing is, for research, if you create content, if you have a business, there's things you want to research constantly, whether it's like scraping Twitter, whether it's scraping Reddit, whatever you're scraping, that's what I would consider research. And those are the ones that could live on OpenClaw because it doesn't matter. I think GPT 5.4 at the time was smart enough to do those tasks, and 5.5 now is even smarter. So those are the ones that I left there. Content, pretty much I pushed it to Claude because Anthropic, even now, I think is still top tier when it comes to writing and creative design. And then grunts is just doesn't matter. I can run it on cheap models. I have Olama Cloud as well, and that's just like another $20 subscription, but it gives you like local models you can use, like Minimax, Quen, and other Chinese models. But the cool part is you're running in the US servers. So another unlock you could do right there. My research heavy crons stayed on OpenClaw, and that's the 6 crons. A weekly brief runs every Friday at 6 a.m. It dumps on Telegram. Process takes my voice notes and routes them into the wiki, 3 intelligence digest, AI tool signals and attention signals, and 1 reply cron that watches for inbound DMs and tags them. But here's the move. I changed the brain. OpenClaw doesn't run on Anthropic OAuth anymore. It runs on Olama Cloud. And then the brain is GPT 5.5 because it's pretty much smart at this point. But that's just $20 a month for 6 crons, cheaper than I was paying for before, and the output honestly is just comparable. For research heavy work where I just need the model to read 100 posts and just surface patterns. So something like Kimi 2.6 is probably good enough. And then content generation, move entirely to Claude Code skills. So the shorts pipeline, long form ideas, script generators, newsletter drafts, all running on the Claude Max subscription I was already paying for anyways. It's just a markdown file that's properly formatted with deep instructions. Think of the body as just like an SOP. Claude Code reads it, it picks it up automatically when my request matches the description and just runs the SOP. So if I want to create a long form, it just uses that skill. And that's the whole magic. It's no NA10 canvas, no webhooks, no OpenClaw crons. It's just a simple file and cheap grunt work. So GPT got promoted to everyday life backup, daily writing, scratchpad, quick questions, and a secondary content fallback when Claude is down. So at $20 a month for the plus plan, I pay for it because it's good, because I refuse to depend on another vendor again. That fixed the routing. And then I had to fix the agents themselves. All right, so I had one script generator agent doing 5 formats: drop, build demo, journey, breakdown, list. It was 800 lines and getting worse every refine cycle. So smaller agents are better agents, smaller prompts are better prompts. But here's the piece that actually killed my hallucination problem. It's just a single markdown file. Real numbers, real revenue, real stack, real migration story. Every agent reads it before it generates anything that claims I did or used something. And so before this file existed, agents would hallucinate 40 plus crons when I had 6, or it would say cursor when I haven't used cursor in months. It would just say random things that weren't true, and none of the agents caught it because none of them had a source of truth to check against. But now they do. The hallucination dropped to almost 0. I still have to manually provide context, but I just haven't had this issue like I used to. Honestly, I thought the channel was cooked for about a day. And here's what happened. The first script in the new pipeline generated was a long form video, same topic I would have written before, the band, same prompt structure, but much more or less, but different model under the hood. Her voice was sort of mine, but the rhythm was just off. You can see it right there, long sentences chained together, no fragments, no punch. It just read like a teleprompter. Every part that made it me was missing. It was not generating content that I was proud of. I sat with that for an evening, and I generally thought that I'd have to either pay for Claude API directly, which would have skyrocketed my cost in the future months, or I would just have to accept maybe C+ scripts going forward. And so the plot twist is neither. The real issue is that I was just comfortable. And so when OpenClaw worked, I never had to look for at prompts. The crons just fired, and I just got an output. And it was just good enough for me that I just never really questioned the agent. And then I opened them and I saw what was actually wrong with the scripts. But for the first time, I got to see like the prompts were lazy, they were generic, half of them were missing the voice profile preference, 3 of them had hallucinating stuff, and many of them were just asking the model to write Chris's voice without actually telling it what that meant. So the agents weren't bad because GPT was bad. The agents were just bad because I just stopped redefining it what good was. No criteria to grade itself of what good was. But when I started reading every script, I would see like, oh, this is bad. I can go back and forth with Claude Code, and we would use the Karpathy loop to refine it on what good looks like. I just caught myself thinking that this was the best thing happening to me because for the first time I can see the problem, I can fix it, and I could do it faster without having to wait. It was more manual, but the manual meant that I got a better quality script. Let me actually show you what the numbers actually look. So before the ban, my Claude Max subscription was about $200 a month. And then after the ban, Claude subscription $100 to $200 a month, and I'm still using the direct Claude Code for work. Plus, I have OpenAI, which is another, at this point is another $100, but at the time it's $20. So you can start with $20. Olama is another $20. OpenAI image gen is just about $5 a month, and that's what I use to generate thumbnails. So cost went up maybe about $100 a month if you spread it across the 3 vendors instead of 1. I could have just stayed with Claude Code. Instead of paying for the $200 plan, I downgraded it. So I now have 100 Claude Code, 100 Codex. And honestly, they may switch. I may keep them the same. I may upgrade my Codex if my budget allows, because I think just Codex is phenomenal. It's almost like it's a senior developer on steroids. It can QA Claude Code's work, and it's actually better. It's more autonomous. It's the first time I've seen an agent run for 30 minutes to an hour. Like I've never seen that happen. Never experienced that with Claude Code. Claude Code is great, but I'm just saying I've never seen that happen. Has built-in browser. I mean, there's just so many pluses of using Codex. So the build demo pipeline that I shipped last week scored a perfect score. And all that really means is in the report card that I used to grade it, it got a good score. And that means that the skill was operating at peak performance. It was generating good scripts. And that was when I ran the refine loop that helps. Basically, it's like a self-improving loop that makes your output better. And it just took a few iterations to get there. So I wouldn't have touched either of those if I hadn't been forced to do it. But after, I just spent maybe 30 minutes with the whole pipeline. It's manual, but it's faster. Because every skill has been tested. I've seen the quality, and if I don't like it, I can quickly refine it. It's faster to go to type in your terminal or in your computer and get a response versus using OpenClaw, which not only there's a lag there, but it also takes a little bit longer to get a response and to iterate, because you can't even see it until your OpenClaw posts it back. So this is the part that I can't easily put a number on. So I'll use the gate scorecards, the old script. So my old long form scripts pre-ban had no gates. I just estimate they passed even maybe 7 or 8. If I had to guess, maybe like half of them passed after if I had graded them. But my new scripts now, they pass the quality test more or less every time. So the ban didn't make the scripts better, but they did force me to polish them, to view them, and to not settle for just what I got the first run. But here's the part I want you to feel before we move on. 300 extra bucks is not the point. The point is that none of these 3 vendors can take down my business by themselves. If Anthropic bans me, it's not going to hurt me as much because everything is spread out through GPT, Llama Cloud, and eventually local models, which is another thing that's worth investing, having your own local infrastructure so that nothing can really ban you. But 3 vendors, 3 brains, 1 Notion spine that owns everything, and each tool has its own job, has one job and only one job, and that's the actual payoff, not the cost, not the speed. The fact that not a single email from any single vendor can end my business anymore. And this is the playbook. I came out of the rebuild with 3 layers of de-risk, and most operators have only layer 1. Some have layer 2, and almost nobody has layer 3. You want all 3. If your AI vendor disappears tomorrow, you should be able to do the job by hand. It's slower, it's obviously worse, but you can still ship things. And the reason this matters is that if it sets the floor, you're not actually dependent on autonomous version of the task. You're dependent on the time leverage the autonomous version gives you. So those are different problems. And the test is concrete. Pick your autonomous workflow right now, the one that fires without you. Could you do it manually if you had to? And if the answer is no, you don't have a workflow, you have a black box that runs your business. For me, that meant being able to write a script by hand if I had to Claude Code or any AI tool to write it. But I had that muscle from before, which is why I survived the first 72 hours after the ban. If I hadn't, this video wouldn't exist. So the action. Every workflow you depend on, write 1-page manual fallback doc. What you do if the AI piece just vanished. Don't make it pretty, just write it once and just save the workflow. So when a vendor changes terms or the API rate limits, you'll thank yourself. So mine's for the script pipeline is 3 lines. Open Notion, pull the brief, write the script, plain text in 90 minutes. And that's the floor. Everything above the floor is leverage. But knowing the floor is what lets you sleep at night. And then don't run your business on one provider, period. I ran mine on Anthropic for a year, and it was probably the most expensive year of my operator life because I lived with the comfort of it just works. And I never built any redundancy. Now I run it on 3 vendors at any given time, an Anthropic for content depth, OpenAI for everyday life and content backup, and a Llama Cloud for grunt research. Each one can carry a different category of work, and the trick here is to play with all of them, not all at once, but at rotation. You don't know which vendor is your best fallback until you actually use them. You should have a paid plan with at least 2 of the big AI labs at all times. $20 a month per vendor, that's cheaper than the half a day you lose if one vendor goes down on the wrong Friday. It's also a layer that compounds. OpenClaw runs research crons, period. It does not write content anymore. Claude Code runs content generation, and Notion is just my storage hub. So GPT is everyday writing and second opinion content. It's not the primary voice, and each piece does one thing well. And because each one has a job, I can swap any single tool without rewriting the whole pipeline. So that's the layer most operators miss. They try to consolidate into one platform because consolidation feels efficient, but it's not efficient. It's just a single point of failure dressed up as a productivity move. So with Anthropic banning OpenClaw, the only reason I survived was because Notion still owned the data. The skills could rebuild on top of Notion in 72 hours because Notion never depended on any AI vendor in the first place. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, I'm just about starting out and I don't have time for all of this, and I get it. Layer 1 is the only one that's free. And write 1-page manual fallback for your most critical workflow and this week. Don't build the multi-vendor stack until you have the manual fallback. The manual fallback is the unlock. Everything else builds on top of it. So the biggest lesson from all of this is one line. I don't run my business through one AI tool anymore, but the ban forced me to open every file The cleanup is what fixed everything, not the new tools, not the new stack, just paying attention again. So if you're running your business through one AI vendor right now, don't wait for them to ban you before you fix it. Pick the most autonomous workflow you have, write a one-page manual, fallback this week, and that's layer one. Everything else builds upon it. Everything else builds on it. But real quick before I let you go, tell me in the comments what you're running, what almost broke you this month. I read all of them. All right, go build something.